This dirty, scratched-up penny looks like literal garbage you'd find at the bottom of a cup holder, but collectors fought tooth and nail in a bidding war until it sold for over $126,000. Most people would look at these 4 ugly pennies, think they're completely worthless, and spend them on a piece of gum. But if you do that, you are throwing away a massive fortune, because the dirt and grime are actually hiding the exact secret marks that making them worth thousands. First coin. This dirty, scratched-up 1971 penny looks like something you'd find buried in the dirt at a local park, completely caked in decades of grime and looking entirely worthless. In fact, if you found this exact coin in your pocket change, your first instinct would probably be to throw it into a jar or pass it along to a cashier without giving it a second thought. But if you do that, you could be making a mistake that costs you tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors recently went into an absolute frenzy over one specific 1971 penny, driving the price up until it sold for an unbelievable sum of money, all because of a secret feature that is staring you right in the face if you know exactly where to look. The beauty of this coin is that you do not need a fancy microscope or a degree in archaeology to spot the treasure hiding under the dirt. You just need to know the one specific place on the coin where the magic happens, and it is a place most people completely ignore when they are glancing at their pocket change. When you hold a 1971 penny in your hand, the first thing you want to do is ignore the face of Abraham Lincoln for a moment and look directly at the words stamped around the edge of the coin. Specifically, you want to focus your attention on the phrase that sits right above Lincoln's head, the famous American motto, "In God We Trust." On a normal, everyday penny from 1971, these letters are perfectly crisp, clean, and singular. But on the ultra-rare version that is hiding out there in circulation, something went incredibly right for collectors and incredibly wrong at the mint. If you look closely at those letters, you will notice that they look fuzzy, thick, or strangely distorted. If you look even closer, you will see that every single letter in that motto is actually doubled. It looks almost like a printing mistake on a piece of paper where the ink shifted, or like you are looking at the coin with blurry vision. This is what collectors call a double die, and it is one of the most sought-after errors in the entire world of coin collecting. Next coin. This next coin is an absolute ghost, and it is the ultimate proof that you should never judge a penny by its cover. If you happen to find a 1989 penny that looks completely beat up, scratched, dark brown, and thoroughly ugly, you might be tempted to just throw it in a tip jar and forget about it. But if you do that, you could be giving away a prize that is worth an absolute fortune. In fact, one of these exact pennies, looking entirely ordinary and weathered by time, managed to completely shock the coin world when it sold for thousands of dollars at a major auction. The reason this specific year is so explosive is due to a secret modification that happened at the mint, creating a hidden treasure that 99% of the population has absolutely no idea exists. To spot this multi-thousand-dollar error, you need to flip the penny over to the reverse side, the back of the coin where the Lincoln Memorial sits. On a standard, normal penny from 1989, if you look closely at the bottom right side of the building, near the bushes, you will see 2 tiny, crisp initials stamped into the metal. Those initials are F and G, which stand for Frank Gasparo, the legendary designer of the coin. On billions of pennies minted throughout the late 1980s, those letters look exactly the same. They are standard, sharp, and easy to miss if you aren't looking for them. But on the ultra-valuable version hiding out there in pocket change, those initials are completely missing. It looks as though someone took a tiny eraser and completely wiped the letters F and G off the surface of the coin. This happens because the heavy machinery used to stamp out millions of coins day after day starts to wear down. Over time, the details on the metal dies get filled with grease, dirt, and debris from the factory floor. When the machine comes crashing down to stamp a blank piece of metal, that built-up grease acts like a cushion, preventing the tiny initials from ever being pressed into the coin. The result is a completely smooth surface where the designer's signature should be. This is what collectors call the no initials error, and because it is so incredibly difficult to spot unless you are actively searching for it, thousands of them have likely passed through vending machines, cash registers, and piggy banks unnoticed for decades. Next coin. This 1990 penny looks like something that has spent the last 30 years wedged under the floor mat of a dirty pickup truck, covered in black grease, deeply scratched, and looking like it belongs in a trash can rather than a coin collection. But don't let that ugly exterior fool you for a single second. If you happen to find a 1990 penny that looks completely battered and bruised, you need to hold onto it like grim death, because a tiny, almost invisible missing detail on this specific coin turned one lucky finder into a massive winner, pulling in thousands of dollars for a single cent. It is the ultimate hide-and-seek game in the coin world, and the prize is a life-changing amount of money for anyone who knows the simple clue to look for. To unlock the secret of the 1990 penny, you don't need to look at the building on the back, and you don't need to look for doubled letters. Instead, you need to look right under the date on the front of the coin, just below the numbers 1990. On a normal penny made in San Francisco that year, there should be a tiny letter S stamped right beneath the date. That S is the mint mark, showing exactly where the coin was born. The San Francisco Mint is famous for creating ultra-shiny, beautiful proof coins that are sold in special plastic cases directly to collectors. They were never supposed to be spent at the grocery store, and they were absolutely supposed to have that letter S stamped proudly on the front. But in 1990, a catastrophic mistake happened at the mint. A worker accidentally took a coin die that was intended for normal, everyday pennies in Philadelphia, which don't have any mint mark at all, and used it to strike a small batch of these special proof pennies in San Francisco. The result was a coin that had the beautiful, deep mirror-like finish of a proof coin, but was completely missing the letter S under the date. Next coin. This 1991 penny is the ultimate jackpot hiding in plain sight, and it looks so incredibly ordinary, worn, and dirty that you have probably passed one up dozens of times in your life without a second thought. If you saw this coin sitting on the sidewalk, or found it stuck to the sticky bottom of a vending machine cup holder covered in soda residue and deep scratches, you would likely leave it behind or spend it as fast as possible. But doing that could mean walking away from a massive fortune. Collectors are actively hunting for a highly specific, top-secret version of the 1991 penny that looks like total junk at first glance, but is secretly a rare mechanical anomaly worth thousands of dollars to the right buyer. To find the treasure on this coin, you need to flip it over to the reverse side and look closely at the letters in the words United States of America and the motto E pluribus unum. On a standard, regular 1991 penny, these letters are perfectly flat, standard, and uniform. But on the ultra-valuable error version, a bizarre machine malfunction caused the lettering to become heavily distorted, stretched, and doubled. It is another variation of the famous double die error, but on this specific year, the doubling shifts the letters in a way that makes them look incredibly thick, almost as if the metal was melting or warping during the minting process. Because the 1991 pennies were made using a transitional copper-plated zinc composition, when these errors happened, they created highly distinct, blocky letters that stick out like a sore thumb once you know they are there. The suspense of hunting for the 1991 error is that the dirt and oxidation actually make the doubling easier to see. Over 35 years of circulating through the economy, grease, dirt, and dark brown patina have settled into the crevices of the doubled lettering. This creates a natural shadow effect, highlighting the mistake and making the ghost-like extra lines of the letters pop out against the background of the coin. While an untrained eye just sees an old, ugly, discolored penny, a smart collector looks at that heavy coloration and recognizes it as the roadmap to a massive payday. When one of these circulated, heavily handled 1991 pennies was discovered by an eagle-eyed hunter and placed in a major coin auction, serious investors completely lost their minds, bidding the price up into the thousands because so few of these specific errors have ever been found in the wild. Thanks for watching.